So today we're going to give you the tactics of what it takes to get an elite level condition. Yesterday's video we gave you all the mindset, but I'm going to give you the absolute do this at this week to change this to get this result. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom Sergey. I run the Gorilla Platoon, which is an online physique transformation program where we get results like this each and every week, and then we just speak about them online. Now, my promise to you by the end of this video is you'll know you know everything that we did to take this guy from 22% body fat down to photo shoot level condition. We're going to be covering his starting point and how to establish that for you, the setup of your nutrition, training and output, how we personally made changes to get the body fat off in that time frame, and then also managing his travel along with refeeds and high carb days so you can get the best look possible when it comes to finishing. So let's dance and get straight into the video. The first thing we're going to want to do is understand your starting point. Now, the first photos he came to me with looked like this, and I believe he was sat just above 20% body fat, 21% body fat, and at 89.5 kilograms. So let's work out how we established his start point from there. So I created this calorie calculator where then I can punch in his scale weight, his body fat. It'll give me his lean mass. Now, from the lean mass, that's where you're going to work out what scale weight you're going to need to get to. As a rough estimate, it's not set in stone where you need to get to, but we believe somewhere around the 76.5 marker to be coming in at 8%. Remember, you want to be more lean than 10% body fat if you're going for photo shoot level condition. This gives us an RMR activity level, and then you can see his maintenance. Now, I went fairly aggressive quite quickly. Went in a 500 calorie deficit to begin with. I think I hovered at his start point just above that, actually. To be honest, the meal plan that we ran with looks something like this. 2,500 calories, protein 175, carbs at 118, fats at 59, and fiber, very important there, at 43. The exact meal plan we ran with and why. First of all, meal one, we went with oats at 100 grams, dry weight. This is going to add a lot of stodge, fiber, and pack out the first meal of the day. 30 grams of nut butter then to slow down that whole meal digestion and to make it taste a little bit better, let's be honest. And then from there, scoop of protein to bolster up the protein target. You're then going to add berries at 150 in there to add fiber more so, and also to pack it out as well and give it a little bit of taste. So that's the meal one you're going to have. If you are dieting for a while, try to push that back to around about 10 o'clock before you start breaking the fast. Meal two, running with chicken breast, raw weight 150, veg at 100. Where it says mixed veg, I tend to go with more like waterier style vegetables. You're talking tomato, spinach, cucumber, and they'll work quite well for you. Basmati rice, that's a dry weight of 60 grams. Before the gym, depends on what time you need to train, but we went with oats at 50, jam at 20, adds more fiber, packs out the diet, and also just gives you more of a fullness feeling. That said, if you need to train very early or you need to train quickly after eating, swap the oats out for bread. Shake can be had either before or after the session. And then meal five, you're into your chicken breast raw weight 150, veg at 100, same principle. This time we went pasta at 50 grams, pasta sauce at 100. That can be swapped out for sweet potato, white potato, or even tortillas if you're on the move. Finishing the day with some morale then, we've got berries at 100, low-fat yogurt 200, and dark chocolate coming in at 30 grams. Next thing to look at is what we did for his output and his training. So if we look back to the video, we're going to start point. We can see here we set him up with 2,534 calories. Cardio is set to 20 minutes per day. Now that was straight from the beginning. So formal cardio, you're talking incline treadmill walk or a bike, and keep the heart rate 120 to 130 so it doesn't spiral, doesn't send your appetite through the roof, nor do you accumulate too much fatigue. Steps are sitting at 10k daily. They didn't change for the most part. Training, this was the split we followed. So push-pull legs, chest and back, and then arms and delts. So you're looking at a rest day after your leg day and a second rest day after your arms and delts day. This style of a split is geared around building an aesthetic of a body physique. So there's only one leg day in there, but there's enough for 2 other days of everything else to give it plenty of volume, attention, and intensity on the split. So that's the way we approached our training. Now, the next thing we're going to need to go in is how we made changes. This is critical that we can see this. So this was the setup. This was I believe it was a 16-week transformation this took us to get down to. I actually thought eight. When I first set him up, we set him to 17%. I was actually way off with that in hindsight, and we needed to go lower than 80. So week one, we set off on this protocol as discussed. Then week two, we kept the cardio the same, steps the same, and then we also just pulled feeding down ever so slightly. Week 3 then went in and we pulled quite aggressively here. This was the first main change I made because we needed to see that drop off from the scale. Moving forward, steps and cardio also stayed the same. Cardio stayed the same for the first 4 weeks. It did start to keep feeding. The only one pull down time in between those, so nothing too drastic in the beginning, and that's the importance of setting it up well. You shouldn't have to pull too much in the beginning. If you're not really budging, you're going to need to drop quite quickly, and I'll normally push output, but where he was already a decent amount of muscle, may not have looked at it in the starting photos, but you can see it underneath the body fat. You can get more aggressive with food because they'll respond a lot quicker, and that's what started to happen here. From going into week 5, we pulled quite aggressively, went down to from 2-3-4-1, and bear in mind we started at 2-5 down to 2-2-4-6. Cardio is then up at 30 minutes as well. Week after, we also pulled again, and then also push the cardio up another 10 minutes. The cardio then stayed the same for a long period of time at 40 minutes all the way past week 10. Why? Well, because it does, as much as I love cardio and I would always prefer you to do cardio to become an athlete, it comes at a higher cost of your time within your day. This guy was a busy professional and didn't always have the time to be stacking minutes upon minutes of cardio. Ultimately, it gets to a point where we don't have a choice, but we won't play that card straight away if we don't need to. Week 8, we then made our next change, coming down to 2,085, so just under 100 removed there. Week 9 also made a change there, and then week 10 also dropped there. You can see how I'm now progressively deloading the amount of food he's able to consume. One thing to understand was he travelled for a week, so he had a week's holiday, and coming back off the week holiday, we had 3 weeks to really drop the hammer and get off after it. Notice how in that week there's nothing tracked, and then when he comes back, we're up 2 kilograms from where we were before. And then we had it all to do. So as you can see now, look at his step counts at 12,000. His cardio is at 40 minutes daily. And his feeding is now down just below 1,900. So we had to get quite aggressive at that point. Week after that, when he came back, as you can see, this cardio was pushed up to 60 minutes per day. And we kept with that. His feeding also come down ever so slightly a week after. Cardio stayed the same. Steps went up to 15K. And then the last leg, we pulled down a little bit more and pushed a little bit more cardio up as well. So you can see now how we had to drop the hammer quite drastically. Now, when he did travel, let's just show you what we did there. The approach I always give people when they're going on holiday is have 2 square meals per day plus fruit if training. And that way your 2 square meals can be high protein, high fat, and the second meal having carbohydrates. Whilst away for a full week, conduct 2 full body sessions and just kind of have some fun with it. Try and complete 30 minutes of cardio times 4 with 10,000 steps. Ultimately, that's going to be put in place for them to try and keep the progress whilst they're away. Back to the video. So that's how we made changes and also how we managed the travel to get into this lean level of condition. The last thing I wanted to talk about was how we ran the high carb day and the refeed process. So this is what the meal plan looks like for that. You want to take your scale weight at the time. This is your lean mass, not your overall weight. And we just times it by 7. You can go anywhere from 8 to 12, but I always like to err on the side of caution. The next big thing is, when do you run it? Well, his shoot was on a Friday, so we ran it on a Wednesday. Why? Because then we want to see how he looks when he wakes up Thursday morning. He actually woke up and he looked exceptional. I'll come on to photos in a minute. In fact, no, I'll show you photos ASAP. For context, this is how he looked after his holiday. Lean, but fuck me, there was a lot of work to be done in such a short, quick succession, but he did deliver it and get after it. We started to see him come in leaner. This is where I look, right, potential is coming in now. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. We're really starting to get in somewhere. And then, boom, all of a sudden we had this look here. And at that point, I knew we were going to have an exceptional shot. And then from in here, was coming in a little bit flat at this point, but very lean. And at that point, we knew we were ready to add fuel to the fire to have him filled up. These photos are taken recently. So anyway, back to the nutritional standpoint. High day times by 7, done 24 hours before, or give yourself 24 hours grace, so it's 48 hours before that. And then this is the feeding plan we added here. So oats, nothing that we hadn't already run before. Oats, jam, berries, chicken breast rice. This is just a normal dessert meal that we were running with. And then we also added these in, bread and jam, cereal in there as well. Don't try anything you've not done before at this stage of the game. You don't want any bloating. Notice how there's no veg in there. You don't want any coniferous vegetables in there because it could hold the water inside the gut, and it just ruins the look. So this is exactly what we ran with. Then the next day, what you can do is go back to your normal day of feeding, but increase a little bit the fats. Fats will slow down digestion, and it will hold the look for you. That said, you may wake up and you may look spilled. I've done this with a client before, and he looks spilled. This is where you're full, but you're also a little soft. At that point, you just want to add a little bit of cardio in, a little bit of light session, back to normal day of feeding, and you'll see that drop off. On the flip side, if you wake up and you're still flat, you're going to need more carbohydrates. Times 7 may not have been enough for you, and you're going to want to run the feeding again. I would probably half it. Depends. Obviously, this is I can't really give you a specific answer because I can't see how flat is this guy in relative terms because we don't have the data to talk about that. But this is just to give you an overview and a concept of what we did. And then, of course, the end outcome and the end product that we had here finished off very jacked, very lean, great shots come in, and that's 16 weeks. And he dropped down to 76.5, so that's 14 kilograms off in a 16-week period with travel and whilst running his usual lifestyle. So a very, very good result in the bag, and that is the tactics on how we did it. So if you found this useful, great, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.